Hey guys, this is Lazy Raccoon, and today we're going to be coaching a one-trick pony, Shen, in Gold 4. So let's get started.
First blood.
Rip.
Not much you can really do about that.
Okay. That wasn't my fault.
Team comp looks pretty good. I would go for the
Shit,
TP
you're a
as well
fucking trick
here,
in the background.
just so you can get more map dominance. So here we're against a Fiora. You want to be thinking about what you want to do when you're approaching this lane. I would go for more of a laid back first like 3 to 5 minutes, because she can actually run you down pretty easily if you push too far ahead. So if a Vital is facing her, what you can actually do is go out of vision of her and it'll reset, and it'll most likely be on the bottom or left side of you. Every time she hits a Vital, it'll either be on the top or right side or the bottom or left side. So at this point, you pretty much just want to back off. This minion won't die because the other two minions are hitting these three, so you won't really miss out, and she could just Q again.
I find them unworthy.
I've only played Shen like a handful of times, so I'm not really sure how this matchup goes. So in this case, she's very close, or was very close to hitting 2. There's almost nothing you can do. Like if you go for the CS here, she's going to heavily trade with you. Even stepping up here, there's no real reason to, since you're not going to get the last hit anyways. So at this point, since she's getting the level 2 first, you immediately want to start backing off the wave.
Enforced equilibrium.
So here, yeah, there's no real reason to step up, because the wave's going to push you and you're not going to miss anything anyways. So this is actually really good for you now. Ideally, you want to have it frozen right in this level, and she won't be able to effectively trade with you, and if you can keep it here, you can just farm safely for quite a while.
It must be done.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill.
So yeah, it's always a really good idea to prep the back wave, the caster minions, while it's hitting the cannon, just to give yourself an easier time. So that's good.
With honor.
Is she back already?
I find them unworthy.
So this is a pretty tricky spot, since she might be able to freeze it if she plays this well. Right around here. So in this case, it's almost worth just pushing the wave as fast as you can, possibly trading your HP as long as you don't die, and then just getting in a recall.
Understood.
He's fighting in the jungle, but I don't think you can do anything to help.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Good flash on. Okay, you did get there in time. That's pretty good. I think if you left right away, you could have helped earlier. But either way, I don't think they should have really been fighting there anyways.
Our wills align.
The cannon! Bro, you're fucked.
Unfortunate.
Target marked.
Enemy killing.
That was a pretty good trade. I don't think the ignite there would have killed her. What I would do on Shen too is save your W for when she tries to last hit this cannon.
Target marked.
And then you can actually block it.
Oh no. Oh, thank God she didn't chase. Oh, I wish I had fucking ignite.
So here, this would be a really good time to recall. Although their jungler, I think, died already, he could just be coming straight back top, and this is going to be most likely frozen here for a while, so it just puts you in a really bad situation.
Let's wait to crash.
With honor.
Like, it's already automatically crashing here. At that point, as soon as you cleared those minions, these minions you would have a pretty hard time getting to, so it's not really worth sticking around.
Tread carefully.
Since the recall is late, it is worth staying at this point. Good use of W. Yeah, I'm still a little skeptical about the trading since I've never really played Shen.
First one put in.
Trying to duo Fiora
She has
level 5
CP,
versus level
come back
6
Black Mask.
seems a little iffy, but one-trick ponies always tend to surprise me.
Unlucky.
So we're actually looking pretty good. Unfortunately, you won't be able to help whatsoever if there's some sort of fight, just because now you're pushed into lane.
Shit.
That could have been a really good taunt. So you are taking a lot of minion damage. I doubt she can dive you here though. So at this point you really want to look for a recall.
Target marked.
Staying in lane like this for future games actually really provides an opportunity for the jungler to come top and dive you. Plus, since you didn't have flash from before, they could actually kill you pretty easily. I think Fiora could even get like a 1-for-1 here.
Enforce equilibrium.
Yeah, you pretty much have to stay back and let him push in. And because you didn't recall from earlier, you can't help the team whatsoever, which is kind of unfortunate.
With honor.
Shut down.
At this point, when you see team fights like this, try and be looking so that at least if you do use your ult, it could possibly completely turn the team fight, even though you're really low health. Just that little barrier and coming in with a taunt could really change the team fight. I mean, there's no objective anyways, but since you have to recall, you could just ult bot side for that and just recall right away and then head back to lane. It looks like they actually did pretty good there, but just watching for those team fights would just improve that early game level 6, level 7. Most people don't expect the Shen for some reason, and they'll take trades bot side when you completely turn it.
I find them unworthy.
So here you definitely want to clear this as fast as possible and reset. It looks like Fiora reset. So being level 8, you already went basically 2 levels at level 6 without actually being able to help the team effectively. So getting a reset in, preferably just before 6, so you can at least buy a partial item and then come back with full health at level 6, can really help your team for unexpected skirmishes.
She got the fucking honey fruit, bro. What a pussy.
An enemy has been slain.
So Fiora's actually playing this really well because keeping you under half health really makes it difficult for you to interact with your team in fights.
Target marked.
So at this instance, if you see your jungler coming and you still have a bit of a wave, you would have been able to actually clear these 3 minions, and then you and Vi could force yourselves onto Fiora. And if you had actually tried to clear these 3 minions, I think it would have baited her as well. Since she has this warded, she obviously saw Vi coming. But I think if you had kind of baited a fight around here, it would have forced her to focus on trying to kill you, and Vi would have been able to just come in, and she probably wouldn't have noticed. Good engage. You still have the QW, so you actually could have been in that fight for a little bit longer. Right here, as soon as she flashed, you would have been able to Q on yourself and W right away, and she probably would have had Q coming up like just about right now, so you would have actually been able to preemptively block it and give Vi time to gap close. But just backing off causes her to hesitate, whereas you could have baited her in for sure. Unfortunately, she gets away.
Understood.
An ally has been slain.
So here, Vi's ult is up. You could have actually dove her quite easily, but Dragon, I believe, is up in like 2 minutes, so it might be better saving it for that anyways.
Without a sound.
Rampage.
Looks like she doesn't quite want to dive. Here you should be looking mid. Anywhere there's fights or pings, try and force yourself to just look at the mini-map. I usually look at the mini-map every 5, at the bare minimum, at least every 10 seconds. And that way you can always update yourselves on where the jungler is if he happens to show in lane, or what you can do to impact any of those lanes.
Slain.
So I think yeah, if you had looked at that a little bit earlier, or even mid lane at least. Like if you see one of your lanes right on your own towers or vice versa, it could be very close to a fight breaking out. And those are like the key moments, especially if you're walking to lane, to always be looking at those. Like here, I would have been hovered over mid or bot the entire time walking to lane.
Slain.
Oh, this game is over.
Pretty unfortunate. I think it's like still not even close to being over. Being down only 3 kills. Them having a Yi is a ticking time bomb, which is pretty rough. But they can easily make so many macro mistakes, especially against a Shen that can just split push constantly with his ult.
From the shadows.
An ally has been
So I think Fiora recalled. So this would be the best time. As soon as the top laner recalls, you can just shove them right in if the lane is in this sort of position, because you don't really want it to be in this position anyways. And if you shove it in, they're just gonna lose a lot here. Not a lot, but any full wave is a huge advantage. And then it'll hopefully reset by the time that Fiora gets back and the tower kills the wave. So now that Drake's spawning, you want to look to push this wave in as much as you can without taking barely any damage, so that you can effectively help the team at pretty much any given notice. Although, like, the ult is already on cooldown, so you probably won't be able to help this dragon fight.
I find them unworthy.
And just for items, I would have looked probably for an armor cloth, just because they're junglers Yi, and Fiora does a lot of auto damage and whatnot. So you'd get a lot more value out of an armor item. As top laner, you always want to look who's their jungler and who's their top laner, and build according to that, for the most part. I would have also picked up a pink ward here. Oh, you already did and place it there, but it's not bad having 2 pink wards.
unstoppable.
Enforced for
Always notice where your cannons are. It's never worth leaving lane to make a mini trade. You are 2-0, so that's really good. And you'll probably win any trade from here on. But it's still not worth giving up a CS, because they're actually gaining more when you're missing that. They're starting to close the gap when you start missing gold like that.
enforced for
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
So a key moment from earlier is when ulting the Sona in bot lane, it looked like it pretty much was a lost fight anyways. And in doing so, you're essentially giving up your ult when the dragon spawns. So when you're using an ult, you want to be cautious as to, is it going to be off cooldown when the dragon spawns? If not, maybe think twice about using it, because that could really heavily impact the dragon fights. And I think in this case, if you had ults, you guys could have got that dragon for sure. So just something to look forward to in future games. Look out for.
Our wills align.
So in this case, you want to be last hitting these minions. If you keep the lane here, it forces Fiora to play safely. And you can just free hit the minions, make a trade with her every time she tries to go for a CS. And you can just keep chunking her. And then once the lane starts to slow push back to Fiora, that's when you start making a heavy trade or clear the wave as fast as you can. And either pinging your jungler to go for the rift, or just resetting so that you can get a better item.
Understood.
So here, oh, okay, that was a really good trade. Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that, but if you know your limits, definitely go for things like that.
Double kill.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were aware, but
An enemy has been slain.
I think the Yi was on the bot side for that. Okay, we weren't actually aware of the Yi. So if Yi showed up, it probably would have been a death, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter since you can't really get any objectives here anyways. You would have lost Rift, but Yi could be doing that right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. So going for those like aggressive trades when there's no neutral objectives to help is actually pretty good. Especially when your ult's down, there isn't really a downside to taking little trades like that, especially if you can get a kill out of it.
With balanced steps.
So for future games, I highly recommend getting the refillable potion, just because it gives you so much value, especially if you're going to be basing properly. You can actually add in a couple more recalls into your laning phase, and it provides a lot more value than having to rebuy potions every time you base.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
So there's no need to really
Dominating.
ult here. I don't think you would.
Double kill.
There is no dispute.
So the entire enemy team is up. I would be pinging my bot lane. Yeah, to just recall. It looks like they're all recalling. You definitely don't want to have people overstay like that and throw away a lead.
Legendary.
So I'm actually surprised he re-engaged that. So generally when you go into these kind of fights, since you're ahead, it actually works out.
Legendary.
But right here, it's not the best idea to trade, just because if you see, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 minions and the whole cannon, and once you start autoing her, they're all just going to start attacking you. and that actually does a lot more damage than you realize. So right here, you're actually taking a pretty good amount of minion damage, and if that wasn't the case, I think you could have done a lot better in the trade. And at this point, I would just back off, because there's almost no way you're going to catch her and kill her. Once you use your E, unless you have more CDR, you can't really go for fights against melee laners or range laners that have some sort of dash or escape, or a form of CC. In this case, you'd pretty much have to burn flash just to kill her, and even then I still think she could get away here.
Legendary. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Usually I would have stayed as well. I mean, it's a little risky, but if you use your W properly and your E, you're generally pretty safe here. I would have gone for the taunt right there. I think you might have been able to pick up a kill there, actually. This is just why I think TP is so much better on Shen. If you reset now, you come back full health, and you could use your teleport, and you wouldn't actually miss any CS.
An ally has been slain.
It is kind of unfortunate when the rest of the team pushes lanes like that and overstays, because they have a lot to lose. I definitely wouldn't have ulted there. So, before you ult, always look at the map and just think to yourself, what would the outcome be if I ultimate there? So we know Fiora is missing. We don't know if her TP is up, but we have to consider that it is. And if we keep an eye on that lane, we know that the entire enemy team, other than Kennen, is up. So it would look pretty bad, because all 4, possibly even 5 members could be there quite soon. And with Jhin being mid, there's not a lot, like, it's very unlikely we'd win this sort of fight, especially since our team has been pushing for so long, and is most likely out of resources. Whereas the other team would have respawned, have full health, possibly an extra item. Not to mention your health. Anytime it's under half, you gotta think twice before ulting in. There's also no real reason for them to be pushing that, just because they're probably not gonna get that tower. I can't actually tell if it's up or not right now, or if they already just got it, but there's also no dragon on the map. If there was, this would be a really, really risky move, unless our team had the chance of winning this fight. But especially when you see Yi coming down there, there's almost no chance you're going to win this fight. And I mean, although Anivia actually played that decently well, it's still going to be like pretty much a suicide mission. Yeah, like Anivia just pinged 4,000 gold. If she had, with the team reset there, they did end up getting the tower, but I still don't think that's really worth it, because they gave down, you gave a shutdown to Fiora, as well as Anivia gave a shutdown. So that's a lot of gold just kind of handed over to the other team for no real reason. So now that we know that Dragon's coming up in a minute, we don't have our ult, we might as well just start pathing bot. And at this point, as soon as the first tower is gone, and ideally everyone's going to go drag, right after that you should mention that ADC and support should head top lane and try and get that tower. And then you can just freeze farm bot lane. You can just freeze bot lane, get free CS for a while until the next neutral objective. So yeah, ideally here you would just want to run bot, and this is why again I would take teleport in almost any top lane situation, because your macro presence on the map is a lot better than your fight skill or your fight potential, even with ignite.
Shut down.
Target marked.
Good trade. At this point, I would, as soon as you know you're healthier than the enemy laner and you can win the 1v1, this is when you want to just last hit the minions and stand ideally kind of up front, like right in this area. And every time she goes to hit like a minion, like she's going to want to hit this one, she's going to want to hit this one, you can just save your abilities and get a full trade on her, eventually just pushing her out of lane.
With honor. So I go.
So there's not much to do here. I'm not sure if you could win this trade. She does have double buffs, so if you're confident in that trade,
Has been destroyed.
then it would be worth grabbing. It already expired though.
Understood.
An enemy has been slain.
So when things are starting to look fishy, and you think a fight could break out, spam ping your ult, because if it's on cooldown and there's like 15 seconds left, hopefully it'll cause your team to just kind of back off and wait for that cooldown to come off. Usually in golds 1 and lower, people don't really play around Shen ults, so hopefully you can get your team to pay attention to that. And if they wait to fight and they play safe until your ult's up, you can really catch the enemy team off guard. I mean, there's no real reason to fight here either.
It must be done. In equilibrium.
You seem to trade quite effectively. There's a couple little bits of room for improvement. Waiting to taunt when you know that Fiora's Q is on cooldown, etc.
I find
Your
them
team
unworthy.
has destroyed a turret.
Good use of pings here. You definitely want to start spam pinging this because Fiora could be collapsing on your lane. At least you have the tools to respond immediately, but just so they're aware. It's actually a pretty good use of ultimate, even though you die there. I would have originally just been spam pinging the team off because that's a little bit aggressive for them to be out there. So at this point, there's no neutral objectives. I think Dragon's up in 2.5 minutes. You can't help your team whatsoever with their push, so I would just head bot and get the ally bot lane to head top, take down that tower. Right now it's a 4v4 and they can't siege. Well, it's a 3v4 and they can't siege at all, so there's... Once again, I would just be pinging to back off. there's like little chance that they can get the tower there, and they're just in a really awkward position. So generally, if you have an opponent that's a little bit far behind, you could have actually let that whole lane push towards you and just keep a freeze here on your side of the lane. Looks like he tries to push anyways.
Oh!
At this point, yeah, you don't want to flash there. I kind of figured you'd flash, but as soon as you see the enemy like that...
An enemy has been slain.
Gram or GM.
Right here, yeah, this is a really hard spot because you're basically caught out. You almost can't escape this. You would have a better chance of surviving, though, by running through straight towards their tower and wrapping around. Or even coming around and heading to the little blasting plant. But still, this is a pretty hard situation.
Oh!
If you know you're gonna die, and flashing most likely won't even get you. Don't even try to flash.
Fuck! Hello?
And even if there was a chance of barely surviving with flash, it still is arguably not worth it, because then you're saving flash for the next dragon fight. And having flash for a dragon fight is a lot more valuable than using it to escape a fight that you kind of put yourself in at a disadvantage. So this is really good though that they have two there, because now your team is sieging, so this actually benefits you guys really well. You should be spam pinging here as soon as you notice that the enemies are missing, that they could have reset.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
So it looks like you know your champion pretty well, how to effectively trade. The only thing is, generally, you don't need to go for trades. Just because the off chance you do die, you're going to be missing out on your wave, helping your team, and where you could be adding pressure.
Enemy killing spree.
Understood.
Like you're pretty good engaged. Even if that fight had have turned south, I don't know if you noticed, but Anivia was coming down the river, so that would have been a really good fight, and especially because Dragon's coming up, that was like one of the most optimal fights. At this point, no point in chasing Fiora. You already have the inhibitor. A lot of climbing through gold is instant split-second decision making. So at this point, immediately start spam pinging Dragon and start heading there. There's no reason at all to be doing this.
Immediately.
So at this point, I would just be heading top. The Dragon's gone. Your team If they wanted to siege bot and they were setting up for it, I would also go bot, but it doesn't look like they want to. Being here is a really bad decision, I would say. Their whole team's up, so they can respond a lot quicker since it's closer to their base. And you might be able to get a pick on Fiora, but you lose a lot more if one or both of you die here. Really, really good taunt. That actually worked out a lot better than I had expected. Anivia is really bad, but in an even team state, it's really not a good decision to try and get these picks when there's only two of you. And again here, there's no real reason to push this in. They're all dead but Fiora, but the chances of ending the game here is pretty minimal. At this point, you want to immediately go for Baron as soon as you win a fight like that. Immediately kill the Baron. There's no way they can contest that because they have to clear the base. And then you guys can all, as a team, reset and have Baron buff and better items. And then you can start pushing either top or bot and actually end the game. So it looks like on the last call I was definitely wrong. You guys did end up having the power to end the game there. I am usually a little skeptical on that, but everyone did group right away. So usually in lower elo, even if it might not be the most optimal play, if everyone is on the same page, things like this can really work out. So it ends up being a pretty good game. I would say for mechanics, little bits of improvement here and there, but generally a good grasp on the champion, especially like as you should, being a one-trick pony. But a big thing to watch out for is trading in lane when it's not necessary, just because you have a lot more to lose, as well as keeping an eye on the other lanes and saving and holding your ultimate and your flash for when it matters, like in the dragon fights and when sieging or defending your own tower. And early game, try and keep a strong mental as well. Just being behind 3 kills is far from a loss, and anything can happen really. I wouldn't even consider that being behind necessarily. But all in all, pretty good, and I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave any comments or questions you have below, and I'll try and answer them. Thanks.
That's just fucking tough.